currently working on a game called Winnie's Hole. So Winnie's Hole is about being a virus in the body and mind of a character that's based on the original AA Milne classic Winnie the Pooh, or inspired by the world of that. It's sort of like a dark reimagining of that world, more with a Brothers Grimm meets Nickelodeon cartoon kind of vibe. Really like those old dark fairy tales. The actual gameplay is mechanically you have these virus blocks, which are sort of like tetromino shapes, and you're placing these down to spread a virus through his body. You collect cells, resources, you evolve him by doing so. And as you evolve Winnie, he's growing extra parts, extra limbs and claws and eyes and things. And these all give you actions that you can use. So you're kind of like building a deck of actions through these mutations. Then you go into his brain during encounters, and the same kind of block shapes are used to trigger actions as they're dealt into sort of what is like a brain board. So it kind of plays like a combo-driven deck builder mixed with this exploration aspect where you're spreading a virus through a kind of cellular labyrinth and doing so strategically to define how your deck is built and how your host is grown. So the concept for the game came from a lot of places converging, really. Like, I really wanted to make a game about building a monster because our previous game, Ring of Pain, I think my favorite creature in it was called the Wretched Amalgam, and it's basically like a blob that's made of body parts, like real body horror territory, and I really like that kind of vibe of thing. So one of the aspects was thematically, I wanted to grow a monster in a game. And then we were building this out, and we had so many prototypes of different kind of versions of growing a thing, like started very sciencey organism kind of growth. And then eventually we actually just took a break and decided to do a game jam about, we knew that Winnie the Pooh became public domain, AA Milne's original classic. And we just wanted to do a game jam with Winnie, and ended up merging in some of these monster building mechanics, and it seemed to fit a lot better than what we were originally trying to do with the monster building game. Very strangely, like the contrast between Winnie being sort of like, you know, aloof, and he's kind of bumbling, and he's not even really like aware that he's infected, when you've got a virus that's all about survival. So like a virus is a neutral organism, it's just trying to grow, and you know, this is a symbiotic virus that you're playing, so it's actually trying to protect the host and empower it under the threat of like an increasingly hostile, basically all of his animal friends seeing him grow into this beast and getting, you know, more terrified. So there's kind of like this cycle of fear and response where the virus is trying to protect Winnie that's being threatened by his animal or former animal friends that are seeing him thinking like, you know, this is terrible, we must cure him kind of thing. And Winnie is coming to terms with actually being infected and growing in this way. And so this kind of contrast, like, it just sparked a lot of ideas in the writing. There were so many little bits and jokes and things that we wanted to include to explore the themes as well as just kind of the comedy of turning into a monster. So yeah, I would say those are some of the mechanical and thematic angles that came in. Another mechanical angle was I really wanted to make a game where the whole thing is played by placing blocks, like building things. So strategically, it's an interesting problem to solve. Like, how do we make this cohesive blend between exploration and then also playing this effectively a deck builder kind of game where it's not card based, it's not like moving a token or something, you're always growing this thing, you're always placing these shapes. And then all of these other interesting ideas came out of this, like you can evolve the shapes, so you can change the kind of virus that you're placing down, and just the layer of all these different mechanics. Don't get me wrong, it took a lot of iteration. Like this, we prototyped dozens of combat systems basically to get where we are and find something that was gelling. But yeah, I think it's exciting to be able to combine them and innovate in such a way. And I mean, this is kind of one of the cruxes of our studio philosophy as well. We really want to make games which present the players with challenges that they haven't had before. So you need to learn new things. Like there's touchstones to existing games within the space, particularly the roguelite space. I really love, SpongeBob and just the trend that was started with Ren and Stimpy, which goes very visceral, but like getting those moments of grotesque close-up kind of stuff that's contrasted against like cute and innocent things. And I think thematically that was a big influence for how we wanted to deliver the story moments alongside the gameplay. Other influences game-wise, there's the classics, like Slay the Spire is a notable deck builder, very good. One of the biggest, it's great. And weirdly, this is kind of detached from where we've ended up, but Loop Hero was probably mechanically the biggest inspiration for us. So that idea of a game about building, basically, like that is kind of what inspired the core of it. And then there's other stuff like Peglin is another great roguelite, which taps into a more casual kind of audience. There's like a high level of randomness. The development journey for this game, so this is off the back of our last game, Ring of Pain, which we've maintained pretty much the same team, but the core of this game was basically me and the programmer spending like a year developing out and prototyping a lot of what the mechanics could be. And then once we had kind of gelled into place these different, basically the exploration and the combat side of things, we started bringing in more of the team to flesh it out, polish it. And originally we were actually aiming to make it auto battler, weirdly. And there's still some traces of that within the game. You can do a build which is like partly automated, and I really want to be able to do that. So yeah, originally it was aimed to be a really small game, and so we basically made the original prototype with like Adobe stock art for the most part, all of these animals holding books and from like an educational pack, just to get kind of the idea of what it could be and test the market. Yeah, so we made this like prototype thing, and then when we announced that, our announcement trailer went viral for all the right and wrong reasons. It's a very divisive concept, of course. Simply being called Winnie's Hole is enough to divide a lot of people, but then you've also got this kind of perception of childhood thing turned evil, which is not actually really true to what we're doing. So Winnie is still a Winnie, and the virus is a neutral thing. But it created a lot of discourse, and it became it just spread like wildly, way more far and wide that things that I've made previously had spread. And so we thought we should probably increase the scope of this and really polish it up, because if it can get this sort of traction, and we know we can make a good game, so if we can pair this this concept which has so many avenues for people to enter into it in terms of like the hooks that people might be interested in, if that part is kind of a bit more accessible to us, then we can do the good game making part, and hopefully it will all unite into some form of success, or at least breaking even with our efforts. Well, it's the road to release now. So we've been iterating on our demo, and we're aiming to do hopefully an update to it. Well, we did our first month update, and we want to drop another update to it probably early December, I would say. And then we'll have our Christmas break. And then, the home stretch next year, we want to get something out. We're currently aiming for mid-year. So that's kind of the goal. And if we aim for that, it'll probably be an early access with maybe a few regions of the game fleshed out, like different places that you go that will introduce you to other cast members that you would expect to see.
What's your go-to caffeinated beverage when working on the game?
I am quite fond of chai lattes at the moment. That's probably my go-to. But yeah, I wouldn't say I drink them so regularly that it's a daily thing. I would alternate between latte, chai latte, or a mocha.